Good morning and welcome to For Fantasy's Sake, the Quad City's first and only fantasy football show. I am your host, Doug Def Leopard Green. I am joined by Chris Crash Test Dummy Steel and DJ Dave Matthews Band Jarvis. But
Didn't
we are
we
not
kind of
put
do
on
this
Twitter.
last
We
week?
are sponsored, as always, by Mobile Party Experience, the number one party experience in the Quad Cities. All right. So, Chris is my favorite transition. So
every time.
All right, we are formatting things a little bit differently this week. We had a discussion off air, and we think that by changing a couple of things, we'll give folks a little bit better kind of a better chance to let things breathe as we discuss things. So what we're going to do going forward, or at least for this week, unless it crashes and burns, is we are going to take DJ's rankings. We're going to use those kind of as the backbone of the show. So we're going to break each position into a segment, and we'll discuss each of those. We'll have one segment for Brian for the DFS, and then at the end we'll have our rapid fire questions segment. But that's basically how we're going to break things down this week, just to see kind of how that works for everybody. And why can I not get myself centered in this camera? It is driving me nuts. All right, so first,
find your center, Doug.
I know that's
just like a Minnesota kicker. You're always a little to the left or the right.
Yeah, that is the truth. All right, so first up is the quarterbacks. Donald, with your fancy new machine, do you want to share your screen? There it is. All right.
Look at how pretty.
I know.
Hey, it can only be because DJ bought the right machine.
Yes. All right, so Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Patty Mahomes, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, can't argue with anybody in that top five. Russ, Hurts, Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Stafford, and Teddy Bridgewater.
Dak was kind of like not good last week against the Chargers, and I don't know if that's because they weren't down like we expect them to be in the majority of games, and so they weren't just chucking it the entire game, and so they kind of had like a legitimate game plan, and we'll get to that in the running back segment. But Tony Pollard kind of was all over, and so do you guys I expect to bounce back this week against Philly, but how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah. I think mostly that it's going to just depend on game script. Dak's going to go and put up great numbers, I think, a majority of the time, but when that game script does call for more running, the team is capable of doing that. I think the disappearance of Ezekiel Elliott, which we'll get into later, is a baffling one. But DJ, one of the names that comes and strikes me right away is Josh Allen against Washington. Josh Allen has not been himself yet lately. So against a good Washington front that does have Chase Young, you're feeling like this is going to be a breakout game for him that in order to get into the top 5 or top 3 here?
Yeah, Washington hasn't been phenomenal against the quarterbacks. In week 1, Justin Herbert, 337, a touchdown and a pick. Obviously, Allen takes care of the ball a little bit better than Herbert, so I don't expect an interception. And then last week on Thursday night, granted there's the short week, but Daniel Jones had 95 rushing yards. And if Daniel Jones can rush for 95 yards without tripping over his feet, what can Allen do? What can Allen do?
What can Allen do for you?
Yeah, Washington's kind of in the middle of the pack as far as fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks, but Josh Allen's still that alpha dog, I think, in the NFL, and as far as fantasy quarterbacks. And I think really with that top 5, you can put those top 5 in any order and feel confident. I mean, you're definitely starting those top 5-6 guys every single week anyway, but
you can definitely drop it down to 6 because Russell Wilson against the worst defensive unit in the league has to be something that you're excited about because those cornerbacks are absolutely awful. We talked about Breeland last week and how bad he is. The guy on the other side of the field might be just as bad for the Minnesota Vikings. So I think that it's going to be a boat race in almost every single Minnesota Vikings game this year. Load up on Vikings players. You might see Kirk Cousins rising up into this top 10 eventually here, just by pure volume. It's like the Tony Romo, like Dallas Cowboys days, where he's going to have a bunch of like awful mistakes, but he's going to be fantasy gold because he's going to be chucking the ball so often, and they're just going to be trying to get a bunch of garbage time yards late. You can expect like maybe 60, 70 extra yards just based off of those garbage drives at the end, where they're just playing prevent or cover 2 shell and just letting everybody throw the ball all over them.
I think the big thing is, we'll talk. I'm not going to jump the chat sheet on Doug this week.
DJ, that's our whole thing.
I know that's our bit. It's our bit.
It's a bit, yes.
None of us can jump, but all of us jump the chat sheet.
I mean, this is twice jumping the chat sheet, but it kind of brings the question, like in DFS, are you going Lockett or are you going DK? You know?
Yeah. Well, and I like Aaron Rodgers where he is on this list. I think San Francisco, just for whatever reason, always has Green Bay's number. And the fact that Rodgers is at San Francisco, I don't think people are giving San Francisco enough credit. San Francisco really locked down that week 1 game against the Lions, and the Lions had to rally back and score like 24 points just to make that look like a game.
And that's where I think that the numbers, especially through 2 weeks, I mean, you can't put much stock into what teams have allowed fantasy-wise. I think that the fact that San Francisco, I see here, 6th most fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks, it's kind of deceiving because Goff and the Lions were kind of just trying to come from behind
points,
all game. And obviously you play defense a lot softer at 31 points with 10 minutes to go.
One thing I wanted to ask you about is when Brian, when he comes on, he has Brady as an avoid this week, and you have him at 8. So I want to hear your positive why he's somebody that we want to have, and then I'll ask Brian the same question as somebody you want to avoid this week.
I mean, like we've talked about in the past, your fantasy wise and your DFS wise are 2 very different things, because DFS wise, your immediate money. Fantasy wise, it's 1 week, but I feel like we just can't afford to sit Tom Brady. He's the number 2 scoring fantasy quarterback, and it's likely in DFS you have all these other options to start guys in fantasy. You know, who do you really have that's a better option?
Well, I see that you have 7 better options according to you.
Well, yeah, but you're not sitting Tom Brady.
I think Brady is kind of a prove-it guy where he feels challenged or threatened in any way. He's going to try and stick it to somebody. And I think that's going to really motivate him this week, because the Rams are the new flashy thing in the NFC. People love what they're seeing. They like that with Stafford, there's a quarterback who can actually make that team an actual contender. And so Brady is going to have one of his big games just to try to silence those people who are doubting him. It's all in his head. He's a crazy person, but that's what makes him really great. And we're going to get a great game out of him because of that.
He's like the Michael pettiness.
That's why Aaron Rodgers is also really good. Aaron Rodgers is a petty Karen. Is Karen Rodgers. It's a good name in one of my fantasy leagues, and I'm a big fan of it.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Justin Herbert hasn't been playing real great either. Now, Kansas City is
soft.
Not terrific on defense.
You know, the weird thing is that they dominated that entire football game and then lost, and which was super weird. But Lamar Jackson had a lot of opportunities, especially in that first and second quarter, where dudes were just wide open and he missed them. And Herbert's got way more arm talent than that, and he's not going to miss wide open guys 30 yards down the field and then magically hit, the guy who's being covered by me in Rock Island, Illinois, and Baltimore, and everybody jump all over him. Oh, he made an amazing jump throw. Yeah, I was covering the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sour grapes. But
he's a professional.
That's his ability, though. The reason that guy is so wide open is because people are coming to stop Lamar. Lamar's ability led to that pass. It wasn't a great pass. It was Lamar's ability allowing that pass to happen.
I think part of the reason Herbert's going to excel this week is you have like Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler to kind of shade the defense inside, and then you'll have Mike Williams just taking the top off the defense. So I think what
I'm sorry, you have to like that Kansas City has been able to create turnovers. That's something that I think is a good sign for that defense, because if they are going to get moved on, if they're able to still get those turnovers, I think that's going to be a big boost for that defense. Chris Jones is still absolute terror. He might be one of the best defensive linemen in football.
Yeah. It's getting Frank Clark and Jaron Reed to get going, but I digress.
Frank Clark doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, it's just the fact that they haven't gotten to the backfield on running plays. They've done really good on passing plays, but running plays not so much.
Okay, I don't want to jump the sheet, but make sure we're going to talk about your boy in the backfield.
Yeah. Oh, I was about to bring that up because I couldn't remember whether we did 12 or 24 quarterbacks. So I was just about to say we're not leaving this segment without talking about Justin Fields.
Well, Jimmy Garoppolo, I want to talk about real quick, just because he's been the most accurate quarterback in the NFL through 2 weeks, and he's down here around 23. I think that might be worth a boost. Is it just because you expect the running game to play such a major role this week, DJ? We've seen that the 49ers scheme so well against Green Bay to just absolutely run them over.
Yeah, and that's it's really been, and I think we're a little closer to it than traditional people because we pay more attention to Green Bay here. But they do that a lot, where they want to just keep Rodgers off the field. And that's part of the passing game, is you could see Garoppolo end up having like a Jameis Winston game where he throws for 148 yards and ends up putting up some stats and throwing touchdowns, but they also have Lance, and you just don't know what they're going to do with Lance. So Lance might come in inside the 20s and take away some of those short touchdown passes, touchdown runs that Jimmy G that you would expect out of him.
Okay. Well, with the backfield being as beat up as it is, you would expect them to go to the air a little bit more.
Does it matter? Kyle Shanahan's the head coach. His dad pulled dudes off the street, and that's what's going to happen this week with Jacques Patrick for San Francisco. They're just pulling dudes off the street, and they're going to run for 200 yards this week.
Do you buy Trey Sermon at all? Because that's a guy they spent a pick on, and I know it's jumping, Doug. I'm sorry.
They seemed excited about him, and then all of a sudden he was inactive week 1, and so a healthy scratch. So Doug, let's get excited about Justin Fields real quick.
Yes, please, because we have 1 minute left in the segment.
Go ahead, get excited.
Go for it, Doug. It's all you.
So if he can clean up those false start things, because that was clearly I haven't worked with this center much problem, I think, because he kept clapping his hands give me the damn ball, and it wasn't coming to him, and then he'd rock back. So I think if they can get that cleaned up this week, should really help that out, because that was really the main problem, was he kept false starting. The throws look good. We know he can run. It's just a matter of what we're actually going to see for a full 60 minutes this week.
Did you see the line on rushing yards this week? It's 58. That's a lot of yards.
I'll take the over on that.
You take the over on that?
Yeah.
He's got to run in the end zone eventually. 58's a lot of rushing yards.
Yeah, but he's going to take – with that offensive line, he's going to take off. Actually, I take that back, because they say that the two tackles are the two of the higher PFF-graded tackles in the league. So maybe that line's not –
Peters is good when he can stay on the field when he's not tired and wishing he was back on the boat.
Yeah.
They got him off the boat fishing, and that story was delightful to me right up until he left game 1 because he was tired and he needed to go to the locker room for a nap.
I mean, as the advanced age person on this show, I can tell you those late afternoon naps are important.
I will take just having stability. The fact that their offensive line doesn't have a mountain of injuries outside of the tackle position, and the fact that Peters has come back and given them some stability there has been a welcome sign for Chicago Bears, because the Chicago Bears are always beat up on the offensive line. And because of that, their quarterbacks always look terrible because they have no time to throw. And if you're Mitch Trubisky, it's 1, 2, 3 panic and throw it wherever you feel like it. So I know Justin Fields is going to be better than that. But last week you saw him get fooled. Teams are going to try to fool him now. And that's what you really have to worry about this week, is that Browns secondary is legit. And Myles Garrett is going to eat no matter who you put on him.
Right. So this will be a good test this week. We'll see exactly kind of what the kid's made out of right from the top.
Yeah.
All right, Deej, once you're done picking your nose.
He's grooming his mustache.
What do football fanatics in the Quad Cities love more than Sunday football? Tailgating and partying before, during, and after their favorite football games. And Mobile Party Experience has the hookup for all your tailgating needs. Mobile Party Experience offers solutions for all types of party throwers and goers. They have towable trailers that offer music, TVs, gaming, private bathrooms with running water, flushable toilets, beverage dispensers, coolers, grills and utensils, tables, chairs, and tents. They have all the amenities you could want or need to host a tailgate party or event. Find them at their website, my-mpx.com, or on Facebook at Mobile Party Experience. Sunday is still the best day at Kavanaugh's Hilltop Bar and Grill. While your favorite jamokes aren't on the deck talking fantasy football, they are still one of the best places in the Quad Cities for your football viewing pleasures. The back deck's ready to go for football season, where you can enjoy the Bears, Packers, or any of your favorite out-of-market teams. If outside isn't your thing, you can head into the remodeled inside bar area and watch NFL Sunday Ticket on their numerous screens and play their adult video games. I hear they have the loosest slots in the Quad Cities. That's Kavanaugh's Hilltop Bar and Grill, 1228 30th Street in Rock Island, the non-bubble home for fantasy's sake. Football season's just underway, and if you spend Sundays watching football anywhere but Van's Pizza Pub and Grill, you've been doing it wrong. Van's Pizza Pub and Grill, 3333 North Harrison Street in Davenport, is the best place to catch all your favorite games, and there's still time to make it part of your Sunday routine. Start off your meal with their famous McGuire's Original Nachos or Bready Nuggets. Then ask about one of their original QC-style pizzas, or be your own quarterback and call an audible and create your own. The Vans crew will be sure that your play call hits pay dirt every time. Vans Pizza Pub and Grill, 3333 North Harrison Street in Davenport. Come get served.
All right, DFS time. Brian, what's up? How you
Not
doing
much,
today,
guys. How are y'all doing this morning?
Fantastic.
Good.
It's morning.
I was really
So
enjoying
early.
y'all. I'm listening backstage to your Chargers talk.
Were we right or were we wrong?
I think you're right. Actually, in my my league of record, I've got Eckler, Williams, and last night I picked up Jared Cook. So in terms of DFS, I think you want all the pieces of that. And please keep in mind that Cook's sitting at 3,800 for tight end. So I think he's even a good play this morning. So
Yeah, I found myself setting my lineups before the show, and Jared Cook makes it into a ton of my lineups. And I think that's in a situation where he kind of helps you set your lineup other places because he's so cheap.
Right.
yeah, I totally agree with that. You can pivot around him. So I think that's great.
And as a Chiefs fan, I've recognized the fact that they got just torn up by David Njoku week one, and I mean they were decent against Mark Andrews, but that's a tasty matchup for Jared Cook.
Yeah, I think so as well. That's the thing. Also, as we all know, they get multiple Chiefs in your lineups because of their price tag every single week is barely impossible. So always go contrarian against them if you can.
Well, one big breakout last week was Julio. After a week one disappointment and a big week last week, what do you kind of see from Julio? Is he back to being like a major player? Is he worth the price tag right now?
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting that both him and Brown were at 6,500. I think it's time for A.J. Brown's been getting the targets, but yesterday I was looking up some research, and his catch rate is less than 50% on the year. Last year he was at 66.7. So I'm okay with Julio, but equal price tags, I'm going Brown this week.
So I know my favorite question for you each week, and I know you touched on the Chargers here, but what are your favorite stacks this week?
I actually have a couple. Definitely staying with that Chargers game. But the interesting thing to me, I still think they'll eat. But the interesting thing to me is the Chiefs last year actually gave the second fewest fantasy points to wide receivers, but yet they were not good against running backs. So my favorite stack, even though it's a little awkward, is Herbert and Eckler. I'm kind of leaning that way. And my second favorite stack is Cousins and Jefferson this week. So far in the season, Cousins has 5 touchdown passes, and Thielen has 3 of them. So even though Jefferson's been okay, he's had decent stats. He between Osborne and Thielen, they've been getting all the touchdown catches. So I think it's time for Jefferson to do something this week.
And are you bringing either of those back?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that was kind of interesting on the one stack, y'all are all Chiefs fans. I know that. What do y'all feel about CEH? I'm at that price tag. He's almost impossible not to bring back, but he's been really, really bad, as we all know.
I was actually very intrigued because I like to do a showdown lineup for the Chiefs game every week, just to kind of have something else in it. And I found Jerick McKinnon very interesting because while Andy Reid is not Bill Belichick to punish guys, he did put the ball on the ground last week. And that could go one of two ways. And you've seen a lot of Andy Reid kind of throwing guys back out there after they've made mistakes, but he did lose the game. I mean, prototypically, the defense lost the game, let's be honest. But he did put the ball on the ground to lose the game. So I personally wanted to stay away from him, but that's also my homerish side. You know what I mean? That's kind of we've all had that in fantasy sports where a guy's kind of burnt you, and that's me in real life, a guy burning me, and I want to stay away from him because I don't want to play him.
Yeah. That's the thing. They made the price tag so low. It's very enticing. But
I agree.
And I think Darrell Williams could be part of it as well, correct?
Yeah, but I think you'll see more McKinnon just because he kind of fits the offense a little bit more with his being so quick, and he can slot. He kind of fits like a Shady McCoy or Jamal Charles kind of mold to where he can.
Names.
Huh?
Those are hefty names for Jerick McKinnon.
Okay. Yeah. 2 borderline Hall of Famers, but he kind of fits that mold as he's a quick guy who you can use him in the backfield, you can slot him out, everything like that.
Yeah, and on the Viking stack, they're you can always come back with several players on the Cardinals on that one. I mean, Chase Edmonds probably the best price, I think, for that. So.
I want to get your opinion because this is crazy and I'm an idiot, but I was actually really intrigued DFS wise by that Atlanta Giants game. I think that we finally get a good game out of Kenny Golladay. And so I was actually intrigued by stacking Daniel Jones and Kenny Golladay and then bringing that back with Pitts, who they've kind of floored out his value. His value's just gone way down.
I like that. I mean, in all honesty, for a couple of your cheaper price quarterbacks below 6,000, I have Bridgewater and Jones this week, and I've got Pitts. I've got a couple lineups already picked out. I've got Pitts in one of those. I don't know. In regards to Golladay, I'm almost leaning Shepard. He's been so good in PPR for the last 2 weeks, and I personally wouldn't mind Shepard in that one.
Yeah,
but the game, it's definitely going to be one of those games. It's kind of one of those sleeper games that not everybody's expecting to be high scoring. And, based on last year, I think of Daniel Jones being the guy against the Eagles that's about the 30-yard line and falls on his face. But he's actually already scored two passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns and rushed for like 125 yards. So he's given you that run-pass option that, I don't know, I didn't really totally expect that at the beginning of the year, but he's done really well.
Saquon so far this year has not looked like himself. this is a really tasty matchup for him. What's that price tag like, and is it worth it? Do you depend on Saquon taking advantage of a good matchup, or since it's the Falcons, is there no value here because they might run away with this game so fast?
That's such a tough call. From memory, I think Saquon's sitting right around 6,500. I'm not totally on board with that. He could have a huge week. He really could. But at the same time, kind of like last week, I'm a wait and see kind of guy. And so far, I've seen nothing. So I have a little harder time going Saquon because there's a lot of other running backs that similar price tags you could go that have shown more on the season.
You're talking also about KJ Osborne a little bit. Is it sustainable for 3 wide receivers to be able to eat out there? Or are you thinking there's going to be a regression with KJ Osborne? Is the price tag worth it with him as well? Because you could be able to get away with something.
Yeah, I'm okay with picking up Osborne. In fact, I would kind of recommend it in deeper leagues, redraft leagues. But for this week, I would stay away from him in DFS. I mean, in all honesty, he had all of his yards and that one big touchdown on basically the first few minutes of the game. So after that he did little or nothing. So I don't know. I'm okay staying away from him. But like I said, I'd recommend in deeper leagues picking him up in redraft.
Mm-hmm.
Doug wanted to talk about because I have Tom Brady in my top 10 quarterbacks, and you were cold on him this week. I need to talk about that a little.
Can you repeat it?
So I have Tom Brady as one of my top 10 quarterbacks this week, and you have him as one of your cold guys, one of the guys you don't want to play. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, one thing about my cold article, I didn't, I always try to recommend quarterbacks that, obviously top tier quarterbacks that I think are facing tougher matchups. Brady did not have a great game against the Rams last year. He threw 216 yards and 2 touchdown passes. So out of the top tier, I would be leaning away from Brady. But it's, at the same time, Brady's always hard to completely lean away from. But out of the top tier guys, and the other thing to keep in mind, the guy that I really wanted to use, and we're talking about the main slate. Rodgers plays tonight against the 49ers. So if he was playing today, he would be my lean away from, because I don't expect him to do well at all against the 49ers. He left last year basically in shambles. So he would be my guy to go against. But my top quarterback out of the top 10, and y'all have already talked about him, is Herbert this week. Out of the outlier quarterbacks, because obviously the top guys you have to pay for. So kind of a lower price guy is Herbert. And Brady's about that same price tag. I'd rather go with Herbert over Brady.
They've already played this week, but I kind of want your take on going forward. The Carolina Panthers defense has put up 10-plus points in all 3 games that they've played. Are they a good value next week, or has the league kind of caught up with how good that defense can potentially be?
A lot of that's going to be, of course, based on price tag. But if they're sitting anywhere from 3,000 to say 2,800 to 3,200, I would be perfectly fine with it, because like today, there's only a couple of defenses that I really like. One of them was that actually wound up going with in all my lineups is the Cardinals, and you're always looking for a matchup to me. So I think the Panthers will be fine. It all depends on 2 things: what their matchup is going forward each week, and also the price tag. And because I really, to try to center around my lineups, I like to go defense between 28 and 3,200 if at all possible. I don't reach for the higher guys because, number one, they're higher owned, and then also, it's really hard to fit other pieces in when you go high on defense. So it really just all depends on what their price tag is and who their matchup is. Speaking
of defense, I was really shocked to see the Broncos as the top price defense. I know they've been pretty good the last 2 weeks, but I also consider the teams that they've played. So
yeah, the other thing, with my personal beliefs and feelings, I would never go with that Broncos defense. But I think they could have a big week. But once again, I'm never reaching towards the absolute top tier defenses, regardless of how good. Because in all fairness, those top defenses, unless they get a pick 6 or defensive touchdown, you're rarely scoring more than 10 to 12 points in DraftKings. So I would rather take a chance on a lower price option. So I would never go personally with Denver, but they certainly could have a big week.
I think that's where Chris's point when we were talking about the Chiefs earlier makes them intriguing, because they do get so many turnovers. They do have that chance to get a ball into the end zone. So are they a team you consider defensively? I know that you kind of get docked a little bit for yards allowed and definitely for points allowed, but are they a team you consider ever?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Chiefs occasionally. Like you said, they are a big play defense. And when you get down to that lower price, the 28, 3,200, a lot of times you're just really looking for that one big play. And it's the same thing like with your lower price receivers or running backs. When you get down to 4,300 range, 4,000 range, you're really just looking for double points anyway. So, you have a couple of sacks, maybe you have a couple picks. You can get that 8 points from them. So, yeah, I mean, to help the rest of your lineup, certainly I could consider the Chiefs.
Looking at Baker Mayfield, the price on him isn't bad, and he's going against the Bears secondary that is probably going to be without Eddie Jackson. I can't remember, Doug, if that's right or not, but it's a secondary that Jalen Johnson's really good. The rest of them are maybe league average or worse. Do you feel like Baker has a chance for a good breakout day and maybe even extend that to Odell?
I'm a little hesitant. I'm with Baker and Odell, but having sat out the first 2 games of the season, there are a lot of people in the community that are really high on Odell.
Right.
Once again, I'm a wait and see kind of guy. I'm not taking that chance on him. And also, I think it's really helpful with Jarvis Landry available. He's not. So I see the running game pretty much like every week. The running game is going to be the key, because the worst thing about Baker is the fact that he has those weeks where he might not attempt more than 25 passes. So it's hard for me to lean on him.
Right.
Before we take this to commercial, I do want to thank you, Brian, for joining us. Shefty just tweeted that T. Higgins is indeed inactive and DeAndre Hopkins will play.
Yeah, with that, I've got Jamar Chase in one of my lineups, so I'm not surprised. Higgins was doubtful yesterday, so I would definitely recommend both Boyd and Chase in your lineups.
Agreed. Well, thank you, Brian, for joining us today. We love having you. We love having this DFS segment, especially because I know me and Chris kind of play it, so it's nice to have somebody who knows a little bit more about what they're doing than we do.
And good call on Rondell Moore last week.
Yeah,
that was a great one.
Well, thank you, guys. Y'all have a great day and good luck in all your games.
You too. Thank you, Brian.
Talk to you next time.
Yep.
All right. Lovely transition with all the sounds there, boys. All right. So
I was waiting on DJ to just start going into some ads, Doug. I didn't
With
know
5
you needed to
locations
prompt
located
him.
within the Quad City area, Ray's Barbershop has provided first-class service, haircutting, and shave since 2010. Ray's Barbershop has been voted the Quad City's favorite barbershop year after year. Ray's takes tremendous pride in their work and in maintaining the fine art of classic meets modern barbering. Ray's goes above and beyond to make sure our clients' level of satisfaction is met. You won't find the Ray's experience anywhere else. Located in the Belgium neighborhood of 7th Street in Moline, Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grills, home to some of the Quad City's best food and drink specials. On Sundays, there's no better place to be. Clint's is serving up 75-cent wings and $4 Bloody Marys all day. And your favorite team playing in those out-of-market games? You'll never miss a second of the action on one of their 10 screens with NFL Sunday Ticket. And after you've had your wing and bloody fix, finish off your football watching experience with one of their famous Quad City style pizzas. And folks, they know pizza. They've been spinning QC style pies for the last 22 years. So make Clint's part of your Sunday football routine. Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill, 7th Street in Moline. Who doesn't need a solid handcuff on their fantasy squad? Grab a bite to eat at Clint's Draft House while watching the noon games, then head on over across the Moline Rock Island border to the corner tap for some libations during the 3 o'clock games. Every Sunday is fun day at the corner with $3 tall boys, Bloody Marys, Jack Daniels, and $2 PBR drafts. Head into the corner tap, 4018 14th Avenue, Rock Island, and get into the end zone.
Get into the end zone. Then
You guys
we
are
know to
done.
come back quicker, DJ.
You know, we make fun of your Chiefs fandom, but that black helmet back there, that's pretty sick.
I didn't see it. I just saw the regular one.
Do you want me to show real quick?
No.
You want show and tell? Okay.
Pass.
Take your compliment and move on.
Pass. Something the Chiefs should have done instead of handing it off.
Yes.
Jokes. It's one of the
All right.
4 games they're going to lose all year, DJ. I think you're okay.
As long as all 4 of those games come before January.
We'll see.
Yes. So that means that they'll be out early in the playoffs.
No, if it comes before January. Shut up, Doug.
Put up your rankings, Donald, so we can make fun of those as well.
Shut up your face.
Oh, poor
Partners
Doug's
don't
face.
talk like this. I do this to wife all the time. All right. So what's the deal with Dalvin Cook? Take me through
It
that.
doesn't look like, since I've done my rankings, he's gone from questionable to doubtful. So it looks like he's not going to play. I do not believe Madison made it into my rankings prior to this, but I would say Madison's kind of in that range between like 23 and 27. So RB2 to a flex type of guy. I'm willing to run him.
Okay. So here's my question. Lineup question. Doug from Bettendorf asks, would you play Madison or would you play Mike Evans, who might be coming into a down week this week against that Rams defense?
Well, if you're Doug from Davenport, then you have a problem with not being able to say no to Mike Evans. So you're going to Mike Evans.
I agree. I think Evans will probably have Ramsey on him. So I don't think Ramsey's pride will let him cover Chris Godwin. So
Jonathan Taylor might be a little high here, just because I think that Indy offense is a mess right now. How is Jim Irsay already all over Carson Wentz about being injured too much? Did he not watch the last 4 years of football? I know It's Jim Irsay, so the answer is probably yes. But I mean, come on, you're surprised that Carson Wentz is injured?
I agree. Taylor's been not good, and he's been, the 23 running back. But I think this is a thing where if he can kind of come into this game and fall into the end zone, then he's kind of rewarding your faith going forward. But you're right. I mean, he has been abysmal. I mean, looking at the running back rankings, he is scored the same amount of fantasy points this year as Cordero Patterson.
Well, Cordell Patterson had a great week last week, and
I understand, but
I know, but he's doing things that make you excited because he's not supposed to be the guy who's doing things there. It's supposed to be a more seasoned running back that we all said is terrible, and then we found that out because they prefer Cordell Patterson on the field to him. So Mike Davis, not a fan. Still not a fan, Mike. Sorry.
Hater. All right. So also, what is up with the Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard situation?
I wish I could tell you. Very good question.
I thought so. That's why I asked it.
Is Zeke
I think you're looking at a situation where Zeke's going to still get
altogether.
I don't know. Would you like me to call Adam Schefter and ask him?
Yes, please.
That's what I just wanted an opinion. Is that why they're shading away from him? That would make the most sense to me, is that they had all those stories this offseason about how great he looked and how strong he looked and things like that. Is he undercover hurt? It's an opinion. It doesn't have to really be based on anything. I think he's got to be. There's no reason Tony Pollard should be getting this many touches.
Part of it, too, is when we saw in week 1, I know Tampa Bay's defense really good, but we saw in week 1 that their offensive line, not very good. They had Zach Martin out with the COVID. Now Collins is suspended, and Zeke spent a lot more time playing as a 6th offensive lineman. And I think there were a lot of situations last week against the Chargers where they were both in the game, and Pollard's the one who ends up running out and doing stuff, and Zeke blocks.
Yeah.
So he's the
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is Zeke like Mike Allstott, but not gonna, not big enough to.
Mike Allstott also had like a 40-yard run once a game where nobody could stop him.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a situation where we're starting Ezekiel Elliott every week, and we're just because you can't sit him where you drafted him. You can't sit him, and so we're just kind of in a wait and see and hoping the rest of our guys perform. And I think Zeke bounces back. We're 2 weeks in, and I like his opportunities here.
What about Kamara? Because Belichick is a guy who's going to take away your greatest weapon. So that's obviously Alvin Kamara, and he's going to try to make Jameis Winston beat the New England Patriots. Can that happen? Is Alvin Kamara just going to be too good for them to slow down?
I think there's just, you put him in positions for him to succeed. And I think there's just so many different things you can do with Kamara to put him in those positions to succeed. And so I think that despite having, that area where they try to, how do you potentially shut down a guy like him?
Yeah.
Because he does so many different goofy things that you can't. In the passing game, you can't double cover him. In the run game, yeah, you can stack the box, but then you're gonna get burnt by Jameis Winston. Even bad Winston can figure it out. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised you guys didn't call me out for him being number 24 in my quarterback rankings, which just surprised me.
No, because last week
right.
it was the toss and hope Jameis that we all had come to know. And so to see him pop back up in New Orleans after they claimed after week 1 he was gone seemed like a regression to the mean a little bit.
And I kind of am curious to see if maybe you see a little bit more Taysom Hill, and that could help Kamara a little bit too. If Taysom Hill sees a lot more a lot more touches and snaps after Winston was just not good.
Okay. Something to keep an eye on then. So of these top 10 or top 12 here, we've got a lot of mixed feelings on all of them. Derrick Henry, you think he's just obviously number 1, but after a great week 2, kind of a weird week 1, is it just going to be he's going to roll? It's like he didn't get off to the start he wanted, but now he's back to Derrick Henry.
I do, but this is also going to go against my ranking. So I'm going to say something ridiculous here. Doug's going to concuss himself out rolling his eyes. I could also see with them playing Indianapolis is this is the game where they hammer to try to get Tannehill back on track as well. Where Tannehill, and you suspected that might be last week, but I just kind of think that this is that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that this could be one of those weeks, especially playing a division opponent where they kind of say, all right, Tannehill, let's fly.
Yeah.
But then you think that it's who their coach is and wonder, does he have that aggressive bone? So
I don't know.
It's 2 before we lose. We're running out of daylight. Gibby, Swift, Monty, Sanders, Edmonds, Gaskin, singular, Harris, CH, Hunt, Williams, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. I'm still a fan of Tyson Williams. I would have him higher. I don't know how high. I'd probably have him under Sanders, above Edmonds.
the thing that's goofy with Williams is in last week, you're dependent on him getting the end zone because they're playing the hot hand. And last week, that hot hand was Lamar Jackson, but you're needing him to get in the end zone.
I think Javonte Williams could kind of be a sleeping giant here where he just upends our expectations. DeAndre Swift, I like where he's at. I would maybe even move him up a little higher just because the targets have been so high for him. I think he's top 5 in targets for running backs right now. And if he gets the carries and the targets continue to come his way, because Goff is a completions guy, he's an efficiency guy. He's going to throw a lot of completions. He's going to check it down. DeAndre Swift is going to continue to get a lot of targets. And if he starts breaking a couple of big runs, his numbers are going to look great.
You know what I'm excited as I throw in some questions here that we're getting in, is I'm excited that pretty soon here our questions are going to be like, do I trade this guy for this guy? And I love those questions.
Well, right now, everybody's take on things is we don't have enough information to make a decision. So when is there enough information to make a decision? Is it after week 3? Is it after week 4? When do you start making informed decisions about your lineup? And when is it too much of an overreaction?
Right.
I'm legitimately asking because I don't know.
No, I agree. Yeah. And that's where, kind of doing these rankings, it makes it kind of tough because you're looking at what's happened this year as a basis. And, is Tony Pollard better than Zeke? You know what I mean? And is that an overreaction based on what they've done? Basically what happened last week.
Right.
How do we feel about Kenyon Drake this week, guys? I know Josh Jacobs not going at all. Is he good? I mean, he's had, outside of 4 games this year in his career, he's been kind of average. Is he good? What do we expect out of him?
No, I feel like that one's right.
Yeah, I feel like that's about right. I dropped a prop on him to get I think it's 2+ catches this week because I saw that Jacobs was probably going to miss. So I thought that was probably a pretty good play. So that's where I went with some of my money. And James White, I'm just a huge fan of this year. I just don't think last week was about what your expectation for him should be. He's not going to get you like 20 points, but I expect him to be around the 8 to 10 point area every week going forward. I'm really high on him this year.
I think one of the things you really look at too with Drake, Miami's been really bad against running backs. I mean, they gave up 16 to Singletary and 14 to Moss in the same game last week. So, I mean, I know Vegas is probably not going to go out there and put up 48 points, but they're good.
Yeah, very true. And Tampa Bay, I'm just always so wary of whatever Bruce Arians is thinking. When we were talking earlier about like those backfields, when we were talking about CEH and Andy Reid not like going away from a guy because he doesn't like what they do, Bruce Arians is definitely that guy where if you have one bad run, he's going to start seeking the hot hand, which could mean literally anything.
And we didn't talk about this at quarterback time, so I'm going to go back here. What do we expect out of Roethlisberger? He's been not good. He's that offensive line's pretty trash. He's without his favorite target. Are we trusting him even as a QB2 this week?
No.
I trust the wide receivers. I don't trust Roethlisberger. I think that he looks very done. His arm isn't what it used to be. His escapability isn't what it used to be. He can still get away from the arm tackles, but he's not going to run anywhere, do anything because he's just fat Roethlisberger now. So I don't know what you really expect out of him.
Right. That's fair. All right. Doug's getting impatient here.
I'm always impatient.
I know. But your wife told me. Bad Boys Pizza isn't hard to find. Now serving in 3 different locations, Moline, Davenport, and downtown Davenport at River Music Experience. Their restaurant and bar stays open late, not only on the weekends, but the weekdays too. Bad Boys specialize in Quad City-style pizza and daily specials, so be sure to keep an eye out for those. They also offer food carryout and pizza delivery options at your convenience. They have a full bar at all 3 locations with 24 taps in Moline, 32 taps in Davenport, and 20 in downtown Davenport. They also host exciting events such as Quad City Storm Parties, NFL Sunday ticket giveaways, and other sports viewing parties. Bad Boys always has the coldest beer, and the atmosphere is always welcoming. For great people, drinks, and Quad City-style pizza, choose Bad Boys. Durham Remodeling has been serving the Quad Cities area since 1973. With nearly 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all your home improvement projects. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715. It's Sunday Fun Day over at Frick's. Iowa's second oldest bar is guaranteed to have your favorite team on one of their 13 TV screens with NFL Sunday Ticket. Get into Frick's now, where they'll be joined by Smoked Out Smokehouse every Sunday. And boy, does that menu look great. Barbecue smoked ribs, pork chops, wings, you name it, you can get it during your football game over at Frick's. So for Frick's sake, head into Frick's, 1402 West 3rd Street, Davenport.
Oh, look, Tyreek Hill's number 1, even though he doesn't deserve to be. Okay. Nuke, DK, Calvin Ridley, Lockett, Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and A.J. Brown. Let's talk DK and Tyler Lockett, because I thought Lockett was in for an off week last week, and then he came out and had another big week. So is he still So how long do you think he's going to keep that rolling? At what point do you think that DK has a big week and Lockett goes like 2 for 17?
I think it's probably a lot like Mike Evans. Is you just got to keep throwing him in there, and realizing that at some point you're going to be really disappointed and you're going to get a 2-point game. They're probably going to be reason why you lose. But like Chris said 2 segments ago, Minnesota can't cover anything. And Seattle might be the team that puts 48 up this week. Like, it's crazy. And somehow this game's going to end up being close.
48-45. Vikings miss a field goal to tie.
If that happens, I think we have to put. I think we need to definitely have Jordan and Sarge on watch, because I don't think they can take that again.
If the Vikings, I'll tell you what. If he's available, if the Vikings lose by a field goal this week, we'll have Jordan on the show next week.
Well, here's the thing about the Vikings is not only is the secondary bad, but I think their pass rush, according to some metric, was one of the worst in the league so far this year. So it's just, I don't know what they do well right now.
On defensively, not much.
Yeah.
I know I haven't seen them play this year yet, but
I've watched both of their games, and in both of them, it's just like waiting for the hammer to just drop. And I've looked at, in that first game, my takeaway was the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line might be fixed, because the Vikings were able to get some pressure in there, but they weren't able to make anything big happen. So when the Bears rolled up and they're playing against the Bengals, and to see the Bears get such good pressure against them, I think that told me more about the Minnesota Vikings defensive line than it told me about the Bears defensive line. Because I think the Bears are good enough to beat the teams that are bad up front, but I don't think that defensive line is as good as it used to be. And so if we're kind of using that as our baseline here, if you backtrack to the Minnesota game, then that means that defensive line is terrible, because the Bengals look pretty good against them. So I'm not loving I'm loving any matchup against right now. And I think Lockett and DK are both going to have great games.
That's fair.
Where are you at on Cooper Kupp here, Doug? Because I think he might need to be even higher. I'm thinking this is going to be along the lines of a Stephon Diggs season from last year, where he's having a huge breakout.
Okay, bold words by Mr. Steele.
Bolden words.
Normally, this would be where I tell us to advance the page, but our page advancer has wandered off.
And I'm surprised he's putting AJ Brown up this high. I know in our DFS segment, we were just talking about how things could turn around for Tennessee, and AJ Brown was somebody that he was kind of shying away from because of the price. I took a look at AJ Brown's numbers. He's got 7 catches on 17 targets. To me, that's just showing how ridiculously inefficient he's been in these first 2 games. I don't know what that means, though. Does that mean with the target consistency that he's going to break out here, or does that mean he's going to continue to be inefficient because the offense isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing right now? That's where I'm at with AJ Brown, is I think he's really talented. Can they get him the ball is a real issue.
Right. We are
Survive
ready to
in advance, DJ. Survive in advance.
All right, guys.
Mark Cooper.
We're all over you.
Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Thielen, Godwin, Debo, Evans, Jones.
I also wouldn't be feeling Jamar Chase this week. I think that with Higgins being out, there's going to be a lot of expectation that he's going to blow up. Last week, outside of maybe one catch that ended up going for the touchdown, he didn't have very many targets. I think it was around 4 or 5. The previous week, he was around 7 or 8. So if his targets are down, he's going to have to get a touchdown in order to matter in your lineups. So I'd be kind of shying away from him and staying more with consistent guys right now. I think Mike Williams has proven through his target share that he can consistently produce, and he'll probably have another big week again this week.
I originally had him at the Jamar Chase at the 26, 27 spot. I don't really remember off the top of my head, and then when Higgins was ruled out, I moved him up to 22 where I had Higgins previously.
Gotcha.
With no Deontay Johnson, shouldn't Claypool be higher?
I mean, he's on the list.
Claypool hasn't been great so far this year. I think we were kind of sucked in by his ability to just go up and get it last year.
Touchdowns last year.
Yeah. And if he's not going to go up and get it, he's not going to get those touchdowns because his quarterback can't get him the ball, then his value dips just as much. And on Jamar Chase, in week 1, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 101 yards. Week 2, 4 targets, 2 catches, 54 yards and a touchdown. A majority of that was the touchdown catch. So
I'd still have him higher. I definitely have him higher than Juju. And you've got Rondale Moore just way too low. He needs to be on the previous page, if not the page before that.
Like you said on Monday or Tuesday in our group chat, this could be the week you start Rondale Moore and he catches a ball.
Yeah.
Well, this is the week I'm starting Rondale Moore. So, yeah, he's definitely going 2 for 18 this week. But I feel but that's just because of the Doug jinx. I don't feel like that's because of workload or anything.
It feels like there's a couple guys that are very much like that. That you're going to just try to push in on a little bit, and they're going to have those weeks where they just disappear on you. I keep thinking Robbie Anderson is going to pop out of it at some point, and he just hasn't. He just hasn't been good, and it might be the quarterback change. Things just don't sync up there, but if you're looking for somebody who can just break out here, it might be an AJ Green kind of game. Because AJ Green is kind of flown under the radar here. If he was to have some sort of I'm still in the league kind of game, I think this week might be the week for that.
Nuke is hurt.
Yeah, so
don't start. You know you're wrong. Nuke.
I seriously didn't hear you.
AJ Green.
Oh yeah, Nuck is hurting, but he will be playing.
Yeah. Well,
Or at least
I
he'll be
also
good playing anyway.
I also want to know what's going on with DJ Chark. Is it just bad quarterback play and a stupid coach, or is DJ Chark kind of a guy that we expect too much out of?
I think
one of the questions from the quarterback section of this is what the hell's going on in Jacksonville?
I think that they really love Visca and Marvin Jones, and I think Trevor Lawrence really has a good rapport with those guys, and then that kind of draws the target shares away from Chark.
Well, Visca didn't exist last week, so I don't know what you're talking about with this good
Visca
rapport.
didn't exist.
All right, that'll take us to the end of the wide receiver segment. Seems like we just did commercials, but evidently we're there now. Deej.
With 5 locations within the Quad Cities area, Ray's Barbershop has provided first-class service, haircutting, and shave since 2010. Ray's Barbershop has been voted the Quad Cities' favorite barbershop year after year. Ray's takes tremendous pride in their work and in maintaining the Ray's takes tremendous pride in their work and in maintaining the fine art of classic meets modern barbering. Ray's goes above and beyond to make sure our clients' level of satisfaction is met. You won't find the Ray's experience anywhere else. Located in the Belgium neighborhood of 7th Street in Moline, Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill is home to some of the Quad City's finest food and drink specials. On Sundays, there's no better best place to be. Clint's is serving up 75-cent wings and $4 Bloody Marys all day. And your favorite team playing those out-of-market games, you'll never miss a second of the action on one of their 10 screens with NFL Sunday Ticket. And after you've had your wing and bloody fix, finish your football watching experience off with one of their famous Quad City style pizzas. And folks, they know pizza. They've been spinning QC style pies for the last 22 years. So make Clint's part of your Sunday football routine. Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill, 7th Street in Moline. Who doesn't need a solid handcuff on their fantasy squad? Grab a bite to eat at Clint's Draft House while watching the noon games, and then head on over across the Moline Rock Island border to the corner tap for some libations during the 3 o'clock games. Every Sunday is fun day at the corner with $3 Tall Boys, Bloody Marys, Jack Daniels, and $2 PBR drafts. Head into the corner tap, 4018 14th Avenue, Rock Island, and get into the end zone.
DJ.
Come get served.
Yeah, there you go. DJ's having fun over there.
I said, yeah, I'm having lots of fun.
All right, so let's go through the tight end rankings, and then while you guys are working up the inactives today,
you've got the inactives, or I got the inactives?
All I know is I don't have the inactives. I don't care who else does.
I got them. So we're good. So I guess my biggest takeaway tight end wise, and the guy that I had the most trouble ranking is Gronk.
I get that.
He's been the second best tight end fantasy wise in the league this year. If you guys were doing this, where would you look at him at?
It's a good question, DJ. I definitely have him above Logan Thomas because I don't trust Logan Thomas as far as I can throw him.
VoiceOver speaks descriptions of items on.
Right.
Thank you, VoiceOver.
I'm still trying to learn the buttons. Okay.
I agree with Chris. I'd probably have him where Fant is. I'd push Fant and Thomas down.
Sister of mine, I got you this.
Right now, I'm really in love with the Denver offense. I can't think of an offense that I think is flying under the radar more than they are, and I really want a share of what they're doing right now. In my home league, I ended up picking up McManus, and I also added in Teddy Bridgewater because I like what they're doing and I like the way they're playing. I really don't have options at quarterback, Doug. It's a wasteland for me. It's not good. But
I will tell you, Teddy is always an option, but people above me don't believe so.
I get that. Waller, he had a lot of looks last week, but so did the tight end 2 on that team. So I think they're not going to have that ridiculous ratio that we saw in week 1 where he had 19 targets. We're probably not going to see that again because, I mean, they don't want that guy to break. So
Right.
he's going to put up good numbers, especially for a tight end. So continue to have him this high. But if he has a couple clunkers in there, I'm not as worried about that because he's very consistent. TJ Hawkinson is somebody that I have Waller and Hawkinson on my team. And I have to consider every week whether or not I'm going to put Hawkinson in at my flex, which doesn't make sense to me because a running back should go there or somebody who is definitely going to get a lot of touches. But right now, Hawkinson's so hot, it's hard to ignore what he's doing, especially with Goff, who, like I said earlier, he's a guy who's looking underneath. He's an efficiency guy. He wants completions. Those completions go to running backs. Those completions go to tight ends. When you're checking it down a lot, those are the dudes who get them. Hawkinson has a built-in floor that is higher than what most tight ends are going to be doing right now.
At what point are we concerned about George Kittle? He's averaged 8.8 points a game. He had a decent game week 1 and then just absolutely just nothing last week.
I'm not concerned about him yet. If it gets to be a string of 3-4 weeks of him, not doing too much, then I might start to get concerned. But you're going to have an off week here and there.
I mean, he had 4 catches for 17 yards last week, and he's only had 9 targets the first 2 weeks. Is this the offense is it conducive to that, or like where's that at?
I don't know. I'm wary of him just because he's coming off the injury from last year. I know
week 1, Debo went bat crap crazy.
Yeah.
So that took away from his targets because they were going to feed the hot hand there. Last week just probably wasn't in the game plan or whatever. Like I said, I'm not concerned yet.
The Packers have been okay. Here's where I'll frame this: is the Packers have been really bad against tight ends this year. Juwan Johnson 2 touchdowns week 1. Then last week Hawkinson 866 and a score on 9 targets. So are you going to be worried if this isn't a big game for Kittle?
I don't think it has to be a big game. I just want to see a solid game out of him, and I'll be fine with it. Okay. I think you can apply the same logic to Mark Andrews because right now, through 2 weeks, he's had 5 targets, 3 catches, 20 yards. And then last week against KC, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 57 yards. DJ last week highlighted how Andrews has struggled against the Chiefs in the past. So Chiefs. You
listen to me.
But yeah, I did for once.
And listen, we just roll our eyes a lot.
DJ was right to a degree. And then Mark Andrews hasn't really put together a good game this year, but we throw him in there because we don't know what to expect from the tight end. So, I mean, going back to DJ's point at the beginning of the segment, how high do you put Rob Gronkowski? He's getting red zone targets every week. He's getting in the end zone right now.
Not only is he getting,
maybe he should be 2, maybe he should be 3 right now. It's hard to quantify what to get out of him because he seems like he's back to himself where he is loving football and loving life. So, I mean, if he's that guy, why not?
Not only is he getting red zone targets, they're kind of forcing the ball into him there too.
Yeah. Because he's bigger and stronger than most of the DBs he's going to face. So, I mean, why not?
Right.
Play him until the USAA people come to close him down for him trying to scam an account.
I believe that's called stolen valor. They made it a whole commercial glorifying stolen valor. So
identity fraud is not a joke. Dwight.
Identify theft.
Identify theft.
All right. So inactives. Instead of boring you, we'll just go over some of the fantasy relevant ones. DeAndre Hopkins. I mentioned that during DFS, he will be active. As Doug said, this definitely elevates Christian Kirk. And then Rondale Moore and AJ Green will benefit as well. Probably, like that said, get Rondell Moore into a lineup. Russell Gage, he's out. Probably see a little bit more targets for Zacchaeus and Pitts. Lamar Jackson missed some practice this week with illness. He's active, as is Marquise Brown. Andy Dalton, of course, is out with a knee injury. They said prior or a couple hours ago they mentioned that this could be a multi-week injury for Dalton, so he could be out of it.
Yeah,
for like the rest of his career.
Marquise Goodwin, active.
Wally Pippen, Doug.
Bears have not used him well. Darnell Mooney will play with a groin injury. Brashad Perriman is a healthy and active. Demir Bird could see some looks.
He's still looking for his hands.
T. Higgins is, of course, we said inactive. DeAndre Swift is active. Khalif Raymond active. Carson Wentz, he will play. Kenny Galladay will play.
How long do you guys think Carson Wentz will play? Not to cut you off, Deej, but
you're fine.
His team's going to start, but he's looked not good. How long of a leash?
Ankles.
I love that. I love that he doesn't have just one injury; he has to have two because he's Carson Wentz.
Yep. I think I think it'll be a decently long leash, but this could be a feed Marlon Mack, feed Jonathan Taylor, feed Naheem Hines week.
Yeah, so
I probably wouldn't start Wentz. I'd be too worried that he's not going to make it to the end of the game.
Who's their backup? Jacob Eason?
Yes.
Brett Hundley is their backup this week.
Is Eason hurt? Is that why?
I think he also got hurt last week. Kenny Galladay, hip injury active. Edwin Ingram, he'll make his season debut. Devontae Booker will be inactive as the backup to Saquon Barkley. They did mention a name. I don't quite recall what that name was. Deontay Johnson, as we know, out. James Washington will be an interesting look around the line of scrimmage. Anthony Fursker out. As far as defensive guys, we don't care about them. Hakeem Hicks is actually going to play as well, and Eddie Goldman inactive.
Eddie Goldman needs to get out there.
Surprise.
Deshaun Gibson inactive. Eddie Jackson will play. Jamie Collins obviously looking for a trade. He's out. Frank Clark inactive. Another Chiefs defender inactive. That's great. No Chris Harris Jr. for the Chargers. So no Justin Jones for the Chargers. TJ Watt obviously out. As far as the 4:00 games, you'll want to check your NFL or ESPN.com. What do they do that about an hour and a half before the game? So about 1:30, 2 o'clock, check it out. Darrell Henderson Jr. questionable. Josh Jacobs, as we mentioned, he's out. Tua's on the IR. So it'll be Jacoby Brissett playing. Dalvin Cook, they list him as questionable here. He's on the doubtful side of questionable. He's what if they didn't make everything questionable or out or doubtful, you would call him improbable. Tevin Coleman out. Jamison Crowder doubtful. Rashad Penny out. And Antonio Brown has the COVID.
No fun.
Whereas Sunday night football, Elijah Mitchell, Jermichael Hasty, both not going to play. So Trey Sermon's going to start with Kerryon Johnson, Trenton Cannon, and Jaquez Patrick will probably go get some carries. So
is Mitchell actually out now, or is he just doubtful?
He's doubtful. So,
okay.
And that's a shoulder injury, so I would be pretty confident that he will not play.
From what they said, if they had more healthy bodies, he would be out. So that means he's barely going to play if he does play. So be wary of that.
You got 53, 54 guys, so he might dress just in case there's an emergency. But
yeah, if there's an emergency where he needs to get into the game when they're doing kneel downs or something like that, maybe.
Right.
All right, cool. So that is your inactive list for today. So get the proper guys in and out of your lineup. We will take our final break, and then on the other side of this, we will take all of your questions. So make sure you get those in. We will do the standard rapid fires, all the kind of fun stuff that usually happens.
Bad Boys Pizza isn't hard to find. Now serving in 3 different locations: Moline, Davenport, and downtown Davenport at River Music Experience. Their restaurant and bar stays open late, not only on the weekends, but the weekdays too. Bad Boys specializes in Quad City style pizza and daily specials, so be sure to keep an eye out for those. They also offer food carryout and pizza delivery options at your convenience. They have a full bar at all 3 locations with 24 taps in Moline, 32 taps in Davenport, and 20 in downtown Davenport. They also host exciting events such as Quad City Storm parties, NFL Sunday ticket giveaways, and other sports viewing parties. Bad Boys always has the coldest beer, and the atmosphere is always welcoming. For great people, drinks, and Quad City style pizza, choose Bad Boys. It's Sunday Fun Day over at Frick's Tap. Iowa's second oldest bar is guaranteed to have your favorite team on one of their 13 TV screens with NFL Sunday ticket. Get on into Frick's now, where they will be joined by Smoked Out Smokehouse every Sunday. And boy, does that menu look great. Barbecue, smoked ribs, pork chops, wings, you name it, you can get it during your football game over at Frick's. So for Frick's sake, head into Frick's, 1402 West 3rd Street, Davenport.
All right, cool.
Are we
DJ, did
blowing
you
past
screen
tight
that?
ends, DJ, or are we moving on?
Yeah, we only have one screen of tight ends. The rest of them suck.
Oh, okay. I want your opinion before we do the final stuff. What are you thinking on Kelsey this week? I know you put him at number 1, but from what it looked like, he's never really had a good game against the Chargers, and Derwin James is back this year, so at least there's somebody to slow him down a little bit. What are you kind of anticipating there?
I think that there's going to be a lot of feeding Tyreek Hill, especially with him being poor last week early on. And so Derwin James is going to have to kind of float over to Tyreek Hill towards the end of the half. And I think this is going to be a game where you might not see a lot of yards out of Kelsey, but you'll get some short catches and maybe a touchdown.
Okay.
All right, first question. We're taking this right out of the comments. Is Justin Fields worth a look? I would say, depending upon whether you want to go boom bust, he could do a lot of fun stuff, or he could look like a rookie. So that's really kind of what you're looking at. I would say if you're willing to gamble, if the rest of your lineup is solid, I'm okay with you running him out there just to see what you're going to get. But if you're in a matchup that you deem to be tight, I might play it a little bit more conservative.
Every matchup's going to be pretty tight, though, Doug, if you think about it. I think it's going to come down to if you think they're going to use him in the red zone. And I think they're definitely going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to have a little bit of a built-in floor there. I would worry about fumbles. I would worry about interceptions in this game because, as we talked about earlier, Brown's secondary is pretty good. So I think there might be some trouble throwing the ball because Matt Nagy is calling the game, and Matt Nagy is bad at that. He's also not good at playing to his quarterback's strengths. So this is going to be another one of those games where I throw the remote like 2 to 3 times.
Okay. But Fields could audible and maybe make Nagy look just a little bit smarter. That's my hope.
Gotta hope that somebody can call some plays out there, Doug.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. All right. Since somebody says I have to keep to the sheet, are you making Chubby Hubbard your number 1 waiver wire priority this week? And my answer to that is yes.
Probably as of right now, but Royce Freeman also looked good in relief of CMC. So
5 rushes for 17 yards isn't. I know, DJ.
Well, that would
I'm
be
sorry.
based that you're picking up Hubbard based on.
Chuba Hubbard, the problem with him is he doesn't catch the ball very well, and he's not very fast. So I'm not a big fan.
I would argue that those are his 2 best traits, but okay. All right. Jordan wants to know, Sutton or Juju?
Sutton.
Yeah, Sutton.
Yeah, I'll go with Sutton, even though I've said in the past I don't like him.
Marvin Jones or Jamar Chase?
Chase.
Based off of what I said earlier, I have to go with Marvin Jones, and I hate that.
I hate to have to agree with DJ. Chase. Mike Williams or Jamar Chase?
I liked Chris's argument against Chase, so I'll go with Mike Williams here.
Mike Williams.
Yep.
Okay. Gunnar Haskins. Because Doug won't trade me Justin Fields back, because I got it from him. Superflex, Zach Wilson, Darnell Mooney, or Devontae Smith?
I feel like you got to go Wilson.
I like
I'm taking
Devontae.
Smith.
Yeah.
Smith if you're trying to win, Wilson if you're trying to tank. That's the answer. For your flex, Kenyon Drake or Kenny Galladay?
DJ sounded high on Galladay earlier, so I'll go with that.
What did you say, Doug?
Galladay, and I hated it.
Yeah.
So I had to rinse my mouth out with coffee.
I'll be contrary and I'll say Drake.
All right, Charles Owen, Tyson Williams or Mixon? Mixon's getting to the volume. They were talking about that all in the broadcast last week, how he's going to get 20 carries no matter what the score is. So I'm going to go Mixon there.
Mixon.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Boyd or Michael Pittman Jr.?
Boyd.
Boyd.
Yeah, I'll say that.
All right. Cousin Bo, PPR pick 2, Harris, McKissick, James White.
Just because I hate going to, what's up?
Okay.
Just because I hate going to running backs from the same team, I'll go Harris and McKissick.
I would go with Harrison White, but it's New England, so you're going to get burned by one of them for sure.
I'm going to go with DJ and say Harris and McKissick. All right. In the TD heavy league, pick 1, Tyson Williams, Damian Harris, Sony Michel, or Michael Pittman. I'm still Tyson. I'm taking Tyson.
I'll take Harris here.
My only thing that's holding me back is I don't know how much Sony Michel is going to get used.
Agreed.
Williams, and I'll go with Pittman.
All right. John Barrett wants to know James White or Kareem Hunt?
James White, big guy.
Yeah, that feels right. Also wants to know Tanyan or Jonnu Smith? We haven't talked a lot about Jonnu Smith this year.
Tunyon.
Yeah, I'll go with Tanyan.
I'm going to take Smith. Just call it a feeling. Here's a hunch. All right. Shea Newbanks wants to know Tyson Williams or Miles Sanders?
Sanders.
Yeah, Sanders.
I'll go with Williams.
All right. And Charles Owen wants to know at tight end Thomas or Cook? I think Brian made compelling arguments for Cook.
Logan Thomas.
Cook.
All right.
There you have it. There you have it. It's Logan Thomas.
Okay. So you guys are wrong. All right, great. Okay. Dang it. Hold, please. I closed the tab when I tried to flip over to it.
Doug, I was right that Chuba Hubbard ran a 4.5 during his pro day. Because he's
That's
slow.
not like incredibly slow, though.
Yeah, for a running back?
It's average.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Rapid fires. More catches, Eckler or Kelsey?
Kelsey.
I'll go Eckler.
Eckler hasn't been catching a lot of balls this year, so I'm going to go Kelsey. More rushing yards, Kyler or James Robinson?
Kyler.
Yeah, James Robinson hasn't looked good because his coach is a dummy.
Yeah. I'm still going to go Robinson. More total yards, Baker or Justin Fields?
Baker.
Yeah, I'll give you that. More receiving yards, Scoring McLaurin or Stefan Diggs? Stephon Diggs. My bad.
McLaurin. I think Diggs might score more points, but McLaurin has more yards.
Diggs.
Diggs.
Your top scoring quarterback in week 3.
Kyler.
You always take Kyler.
I know.
Yeah, DJ, didn't you say he was not good at one point? I'm not trying to pull your card or anything. I just want to remember if I'm thinking of that right.
He did.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to take Russ.
God damn it, Doug. You put me in a corner because I wanted that one.
Sorry.
Let's
Jameis is still available.
go with Karen Rodgers.
All right. On Wisconsin or Roll Tide, more fantasy points, Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry?
Henry.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor should start the day with -6 fantasy points just because Wisconsin looked like crap yesterday against Notre Dame.
You should have won that game still.
You throw that many pick sixes, you should lose the next game too. All right, where are we? Chris keeps moving the cursor around, and I've lost where I am. More turnovers, Mac Jones or Jameis Winston? I like this question.
Winston.
Because Mac Jones hasn't really had too many turnovers yet this year. I'm going to go with Jones.
Jameis. More receiving yards, Evan Ingram or Kyle Pitts?
Ingram.
Pitts.
Top scoring wide receiver in Cincy, Pittsburgh. I'm putting my money on Claypool.
Jamar Chase.
It's going to go against everything I just said. Jamar Chase.
Chris.
I don't like any of the other wide receivers now.
Running back.
Hey, if they had Juju, I could have done that, but no.
All right. Top scoring running back this week.
Henry.
Henry seems like the obvious answer there.
Aaron Jones.
I don't like that answer.
We fire off these questions, but we're poor at the rapid part.
Yeah, I know we are. Whoever Arizona's running back is, I'll take that in a
Chase Edmonds.
Dart throw. All right, more rushing yards, Lamar Jackson or DeAndre Swift?
Lamar.
Swift.
Lamar.
More catches, Corey Davis or Cortland Sutton?
Sutton.
Davis.
More
They'll have
fantasy
all
points,
12 of the
Kenyon
completion.
Drake or Myles Gaskin?
Drake.
Gaskin? You said it with a
Gaskin.
question mark?
Yeah.
All right. Top scoring week 3 wide receiver.
Tyreek.
I'm going to do it for you, Doug. Rondell Moore. That as sure as he's going to finish with 1 catch for 16 yards.
Thanks. I am going to take who's going to get crazy this week?
Just go crazy. Da, da, da. Is that it? Is that a thing?
DK. That just seems like the
Makes sense.
more rushing yards, Madison or Alexander Madison or Chris Carson.
Carson, way to totally skip a question.
Madison.
Top scoring wide receiver in Tampa Bay Rams.
Godwin.
Red Solo Cup.
Bobby Trees. It's always the guy you never think of. All right. Top scoring week 3 tight end.
Waller.
Hawkinson.
I hope it's Kittle.
Probably will be.
More receiving yards, Adams or Kittle?
I want it to be Kittle. It'll probably be Adams.
Adams.
Fence City.
Yeah, it'll probably be Adams. Your wheel of wide receivers. What? Wheel of Wheel of Cowboys wide receivers.
CD.
CD's nuts.
Chris is tired.
I'll take Cooper, I guess. What kind of devil magic did DJ spin to get his internet to cooperate this week?
Apple Magic.
Yeah. We upgraded the hardware.
It comes with a pentagram that you can stick on things. It's good.
Apple Magic.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
He's going to drop them both.
All right. Which hurts DJ more? The Chiefs lost last week, the fact that Zach Wilson sucks, or the fact that Teddy Bridgewater is the best quarterback in the division?
I dry all my tears with, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to screw everything up, so I'm not going to say this. I was more hurt by the fact that the Chiefs lost.
Take it to the bridge.
Yeah, definitely Teddy Bridgewater.
All right, Doug, take us out.
All right, so that will do it for week 3. Mike and Nick will be back tomorrow for Monday Night Hammer. They finally decided on a name. That's what we're going with. Boom. They should have a gavel sound. I'll see what we can do about getting that for
I might be able to put us together a little soft opening for them.
Yeah. Now that you've got drive, baby, you
Waiting
just have
for
time
the hammer to fall. Come on.
Yep.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
All right, so that will do it for week 3 for us. I am Doug. He is Chris. He is DJ. We will see y'all next week.